What's going on YouTube? So while the minivan segment has been in decline for the last decade or so, for many families there's simply no replacement for the features and utility that only a minivan can offer. Now for the 2021 model year, the segment is seeing something of a revival, which is headed off by none other than this all-new 2021 Sienna. Toyota is hoping to defeat the refreshed Odyssey and Pacifica by offering more style, luxury, and efficiency than ever before. So were they successful? Let's go ahead and find out. So one of the big things with Toyota's Swagger Wagon is the fact that it's always been more of a stylish minivan than the competition, and for 2021 Toyota has doubled down on that. So up in the front, what you're going to see is a design language that's similar to other Toyota models with that two-part design for the grille. So you have kind of this upper fascia, and then you have the large grille down here at the bottom. So this is going to be the design that most of the models will have. But you do have different finishes. So this is the dark finish on your LE and your XLE. Your Limited and Platinum, those are going to have a light gray finish. And then for the XSE, you have a totally different design, and that's going to come with a mesh finish, and everything else is going to look a little bit sportier. Now, coming over here to your headlights, this is one of your biggest changes for 2021 because you now have LED headlights standard across every single model, and that was previously not available on the Sienna at all. These are your reflector LED headlights. This is going to be on every single trim level besides for the Platinum, which is going to come with bi-LED projector headlights. And then down here at the bottom around this chrome accent, you have an LED fog light, and that's standard on all but the base LE. So when it comes to the wheels for this all-new Sienna, it's complicated. I say that because if you choose all-wheel drive, the top wheel size you can have is actually 18 inches. So if you choose the LE or the XLE, you get this 17-inch alloy, you have 18-inch alloys on the Limited, and then you have 20-inch alloys on the XSE or Platinum trim levels, unless you choose all-wheel drive, and then they go back to 18 inches again. So it's a little bit confusing, but that's how Toyota has arranged it. And coming up here to your mirrors, you will have standard heating as well as blind spot monitoring. And then if you choose the Limited or above, you will have puddle lamps, auto dimming, and power folding.
Now, like Drew said in the introduction, the Sienna has always been known as the Swagger Wagon, and that style is going to continue with the rear design of this all-new Sienna. So as you can see, this is a very, very aggressive minivan, and I'm actually a really big fan of the style itself. So breaking down what you're gonna get, as you can see, this taillight element is a very stylish thing. It's kind of reminiscent to the Camry since you do have this piece down here that kind of accents the taillight, and it is LED in itself. However, the turn signal and reverse light are incandescent. And then dropping down further, the rear diffuser is going to be black on the LE or XLE. If you go for the Limited or Platinum, you're going to have a silver accent down here. And then if you go for the sporty XSE, you're going to have a mesh finish that really sets off the sporty design. Now, as you would expect for a vehicle that's all about family, Toyota is going to throw in their entire Safety Sense suite standard on all of the Siennas. That'll be all the niceties that you're looking for, as well as all the things to keep your family safe, like forward collision warning, lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, and so on. But anyway, guys, that's going to sum up the very stylish new exterior design of the Sienna. However, I know Toyota has done a lot on the inside, so let's go ahead and check that out. And before we do that, hit that subscribe button down below.
So for the all-new Sienna, Toyota is including their smart entry system on the XLE and up. And you're also looking at a new designed key fob. As you can see, you have your buttons for your side doors as well as your power liftgate. You have the blue hybrid emblem, and there's nothing on the back. Now to get inside the door itself, just grab behind the handle since there is a sensor. Take a look at this cabin. As you can tell, there is nothing similar in here to the outgoing generation, and it definitely has a very upscale look even on this XLE trim. So let's go ahead and talk about your different interior color and material combinations you can get. So your LE is going to come standard with cloth seating and gray only. However, when you get up to this XLE, that's where you'll get the soft tex faux leatherette seating and your choice of graphite or chateau. The XSE trim level also comes with the soft tex faux leather seating. The limited comes with real leather, again with graphite or chateau color choices. And then the platinum model, that comes with real leather in only noble brown. Now turning over here to your door trim, it is nicely finished. You'll see a leatherette trim across your armrest area with a color contrast stitching detail. We have some faux wood trim right here, and then the top part is going to be soft touch. As far as your windows, they're all four going to be one touch auto up and down. And then bending down here to your seat, this is the 8-way power adjusting seat with 4-way lumbar support. It is standard across every single trim level. And then, like I was already mentioning, we have the soft tex faux leather, but I will say, in typical Toyota fashion, it is pretty realistic feeling. And I also like the little design in the back here. So XLE is probably the trim that most people will buy, and I'm happy to report that even on this trim level, the materials are very nice. So you will have hard touch plastic covering the upper dashboard. However, the areas that are more accessible that you'll actually touch, Toyota has covered these in a leatherette material with the color contrast stitching on both sides of the console here. You will notice all through this middle area, you do have this faux wood trim, which I think looks pretty nice. And then in typical Toyota fashion, everything in here is going to fit together absolutely seamlessly. Now to start up every version of the Sienna, put your foot on the brake and press the standard button. Now as far as the gauges are concerned, there are a couple different layouts you can get. This is the standard setup, which is going to have a 4.2-inch multifunction display right there in the middle. If you go for an upper end trim level, that's going to have a 7-inch multifunction display instead. But as far as the actual information, it includes all the typical stuff, including all the adjustments for the safety systems back here on the last page. Now, if you went for the Platinum model, that would even throw in a head-up display. Coming back to the steering wheel, you will notice a nice leather-wrapped wheel on the XLE trim level and above. It is going to be manual adjusting on this trim level. However, if you choose the Limited or the Platinum, you're going to get power adjustment, which is class exclusive, and you also have heating if you go for the Platinum. Well, let's go ahead and discuss now what has got to be one of the most important aspects of a minivan, and that is going to be all your interior storage. Now, spoiler alert, Toyota did really excellent in this regard. So we'll start out underneath our center console here. If you press that button, it flips that wood trim out of the way and you'll have a ton of space, very deep. There's like 20 different places we could stick these coupons, but I'm gonna stick them in here since this is covered. And as you can see, they go in there absolutely no problem whatsoever. You'll also notice 2 USB ports inside. Up in the front here, we've got 2 cup holders. You have a little storage area right here, and if you flip this back, you've got 2 more cup holders. Up in the front, you'll notice across the entire front of this vehicle here, we have a storage shelf with tons of space to stick things, and you can get a wireless phone charger up here on your upper end models. You've got another USB port. But then the real trick is this right here. So this is your floating center console. So Toyota basically moved the console up to level like a normal vehicle, where a lot of minivans have a big hole here. They went with the floating concept, and you also have a 12-volt outlet down there at the bottom. Now, one of the interesting things about this is usually you don't see a floating center console without an electronic shifter, but Toyota has managed to keep a traditional shifter and have the floating center console at the same time. So for drive, you're just going to pull back to D. You can bump over here to the left if you want to do some simulated manual shifts. Then when you go into reverse, you will find a standard backup camera across all the trim levels. On this particular model, we do not have parking sensors or active trajectory, but you can get a 360-degree camera system if you go for the Platinum trim level. So let's go ahead and jump on up here to our climate controls. So this is another impressive area for this new Sienna, and that's because most of the trim levels come with a 4-zone automatic climate control setup. Only the LE comes with a 3-zone automatic climate control setup. So as you can see, we adjust both our driver and passenger right over there, and if you press down this rear button, you can go ahead and adjust the 2 climate zones in the back independently. So that's a pretty cool touch. Off to the side of that, you will also notice that we have 3-stage seat heating. That's going to be included on all but the very base model. And if you want ventilation, you can get that if you choose the Limited or the Platinum trim levels. Let's go ahead and jump up here to our audio systems. So as you'd expect, there is a wide variety of them depending on the trim level you choose. What we've got is the middle option, which is an 8-speaker sound system. So we'll go ahead and take a sample of that. So overall sound quality is pretty good, especially for a basic sound system. However, you can get a JBL sound system just like you can on most other Toyota models as an option or standard on your Limited and Platinum trim levels. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about this display. So you probably noticed at this point we have a large display. This is actually going to be a 9-inch display, and it is standard across all of the trim levels. Now as far as your features, this is your typical Toyota Entune system. You do have some indicators for your hybrid system, and then you got your typical applications right over here, including your projection for your standard Android Auto and standard Apple CarPlay. In addition, you also have a standard Wi-Fi hotspot, and you have a 3-month trial. If you want integrated navigation, you will have to choose the XSE or higher. Now moving on up here, we have an auto dimming mirror with home link universal remotes. This is standard on all but the base model. And then new to the Sienna this year is the rear camera mirror, and that is going to be packaged with the rear seat entertainment as an option on your top 2 trim levels. And then finally, taking a look up here at the top, you will notice that we have a standard moonroof. This is included on all but the base model, which is a nice touch. However, I will mention that the dual panel panoramic setup that was available in the outgoing generation, that is no longer available on this new model.
Now coming up to the rear doors of the Sienna, they have done something pretty innovative for 2021, and that is a kick sliding rear door, which is a class exclusive feature. This is the first minivan to ever have that, and I think this is a really cool feature, and that's going to come on the XLE trims and higher, and if you go for just the regular LE, you will still have the power rear door. So in order to open it up, all you have to do is just rapidly kick your foot under the front door, and as you can see, it opens right up. So if you have your hands full with a bunch of children, you can open the rear doors up. Now getting inside. As you would expect with any minivan, you are going to have an absolute crap ton of space in this all-new Sienna. So as far as the legroom measurements themselves, they're going to come in at 40 inches of rear legroom, 39 inches of rear headroom, which does place it slightly smaller than the Honda Odyssey, but it's 2 inches larger than the previous generation Sienna. And I do need to talk about a few different things with these seats. So as you can see, I can literally have my feet completely out, and they don't even touch the driver's seat, which is absurd. And you can also get ottomans if you go for the Platinum model with front wheel drive. Now, as far as the why that's the case, it's because of Toyota's super long slide seat, which can go forward and back 25 inches. So as you can see, I can go all the way up to where my knees touch the seat, or where I can't even reach the seat. So whatever you're gonna need, Toyota has included here with this all-new Sienna. Now, besides for the absolutely absurd space figures, you're also going to have a pretty good amount of luxury back here. So in the center here, we have 2 charging USB ports. One's a USB Type-C and the other is just a regular smart charging USB. Dropping down, we have cup holders. Up on the roof, we have our vents for our standard 4-zone climate control. So yes, both rear passengers back here can adjust their temperature independently. And I also want to point out that rear window sunshades for the second row is standard on all of the Siennas. Now, of course, if you're going for a minivan, you're going to be using the third row quite often. So let's go ahead and see how you get back here. You can super slide the seat all the way front, and then you can also kind of fold the seat up like that too to maximize getting in. I don't think you're going to have any issues getting in here. Now, as far as in the third row itself, you're going to have 38 inches of rear leg room. I mean, these are insane figures. It's pretty much going to be identical to the third row, or the second row, and you can, of course, slide these seats up, you know, if you have larger people in the third row. Now, as far as the thigh support and all that, as you can tell, I have tons of it. I'm very comfortable. The seats are really comfortable. And off to the side, we have 2 cup holders, a charging USB port, as well as a USB Type-C, and we also have vents. Now, walking up to the tailgate, you are going to have a power liftgate standard across the board, and if you go for the XLE trim or higher, you will also have the hands-free function, so just wave your foot under the bumper to open it up. And of course, looking in the cargo department of this Sienna, you're going to have a lot of space. I don't have to tell you that. So you're going to have 34 cubic feet behind the third row seats. That expands to 75 cubic feet if you fold them. And then as a maximum, you have 101.4 cubic feet. Now, if you're familiar with the minivan Sienna, you're probably wondering, where is that extra 50 cubic feet from the last generation model? And that's because the second row seats can no longer be removed this year, so you are going to have quite a bit of a maximum capacity reduction over the previous generation model, so that's just something to keep in mind, and that is going to be less than the Odyssey as a maximum as well. Now, as far as how they've done the cargo department here, we have this big pit right here, and that is going to allow the third rows to just fold in and make a flat loading floor. Off to the side, we do have a storage area on this XLE, and you can also get a vacuum cleaner on the higher end models. But overall, it's finished very nicely back in the Sienna. Now, as far as the seat on this XLE, you are even going to have a power adjusting one, which is quite nice. And then for the glove box. Honestly, I've never seen a glove box this big. It goes like 5 feet wide, so to say you can fit a lot of coupons is an understatement. And then up in front of that, you have like this little storage shelf that you could put more coupons. You have this big bin. I mean, coupons galore. Now up top, we do have a sun visor with lighting as well as a mirror. You can also detach it and extend it.
So you're going to realize this is a different kind of Sienna right from the start. Because as you can see, we're kind of just cruising through this parking lot here on just battery power in complete silence.
So weird.
See how fast we can get moving here with battery power, but it seems like coming over here it was quite high actually. Looks like we're up to almost 20 miles an hour. Yeah, so depending on your circumstances, we're going a little bit uphill. But yeah, you can definitely get up to 20 miles an hour just on the battery power, or whenever it's like it's switch back to battery power again. Alright, so that was an acceleration up to 60 miles an hour. We are going downhill, but power feels pretty good in this Sienna. I think one of the things I noticed right from the start is just the kind of the torquey feel of having the electric motor kind of launch you off. That really feels nice Now what this has got is basically your typical Toyota hybrid system set up, and of course the big news is that it's standard on all the trim levels. That's your only option. There is no V6 or anything offered. So it's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. You have 2 electric motors. You also have the nickel hydride battery pack. And together that's going to make 245 horsepower, which is about 50 horsepower less than last year. But just about a second slower 0 to 60, so not a huge difference.
And one thing that I kind of want to just point out about that is this is a minivan. It's not a performance vehicle. I really, you know, from when we've just been driving this around today, the normal everyday driving, you're not going to really notice that difference. And you are going to notice the fuel economy benefit. So I think it's a really a good move from Toyota to make the hybrid standard. I mean, some people may disagree with me on that, but I definitely think that the trade-off is worth it.
Now, as we were accelerating there, you probably noticed that to go along with the hybrid system, as typical with Toyota products, you do have the eCVT transmission. This does have a shift simulation though, which I do like. So if you're really going hard on the accelerator, it will do kind of a shift simulation for a more realistic feel. But you know, it is very responsive feeling. Toyota does their hybrid systems, of course, excellent. They have years and years of experience in making this very seamless as far as the transmission and the handoff between electric power and your motor. So we drive this road with all the Toyotas that we test out, and I have to say, going over that bridge there, the ride quality, really phenomenal. I mean, absolutely couldn't feel a thing going over that kind of rough part of the road there with like a pothole and the bridge abutment. Really great work here with this new Sienna. Of course, this is also on the new TNGA platform. That is going to make a difference as far as your handling and performance as well. I know that's not really a focus with a minivan, but it's definitely nice to have because this is a quite substantial vehicle as far as its length, and despite that, it still feels very nice and maneuverable behind the wheel. The handling is nice. There's not a ton of body roll, as you'll see as we kind of go around this corner here. Toyota keeps things nice and controlled, which is definitely appreciated.
Once we get up to speed here, I will get a sound level reading so you can know how quiet it's going to be for you and all of your family when your kids are in the back trying to take a nap or whatnot. See how quiet it is.
We brought it up to 55.
We're going to be sitting at under 52 decibels, or not under 52, under 53 decibels. So 52.7 is our official reading on that, and that is, wow, that is very, very low. It's one of the lowest Toyotas I think we've ever tested on this stretch ever. So you can tell they've put a lot of effort into making it comfortable, as Drew was touching on earlier. As you can see all these bumps in the road, and they've also put a lot of effort into making it quiet for your family too.
Right. And mind you, the motor was running during that test as well. So sometimes the engine's not even running.
Yeah.
And that's just going to make it even quieter. So we got a few more things to talk about. I'm going to start off with today's airball. Now, it's kind of hard to come up with something with a solid product like this. But one of the things that we mentioned on the outside was the fact that the all-wheel drive models come with tiny wheels. If you get a high-end model, they just come with 18-inch wheels. I think that's a little bit weird to see like a Platinum rolling around on tiny wheels, but that's a small thing.
I'm sure there's an engineering thing behind that, the way that is, but it is very odd to say the least. Now, for our slam dunk, this is going to be more important to you guys. Our slam dunk is going to be the exceptional fuel economy. Now, let me just go ahead and read it off to you, because this is probably the most exciting part about this vehicle. So the front wheel drive is going to be rated at 36, 36, 36. The all-wheel drive is going to be rated at 35, 36, 35. So you heard me right, 35 or 36 miles per gallon out of a 205-inch long minivan, and it's needless to say that is a huge improvement over the previous generation model. It's 15 MPG higher, and as well as all the rivals. So you're going to be saving so much money at the pump you won't even know what to do with it. You'll be spending all types of money going on family vacations and whatnot from that.
But yeah, for sure though, it's a huge benefit as well, just because it doesn't even cost much more than the outgoing generation either.
Yeah, and speaking of that, the pricing. So it is only going to jump around $2,000 despite it being the hybrid and all of this new technology. So the LE is going to start at $34,460, XLE is $39,750, XSE is $42,000, Limited $46,700, and Platinum $49,900. Now this is the XLE with the all-wheel drive system, and we also have the destination charge added on of $1175, brings this one to $43,294.
So overall, what can I say except I'm very impressed. You've seen throughout this whole video, there's a lot of new innovative features that Toyota has put on this Sienna. But obviously a big thing that people wanted to know about was the hybrid system, because that's a huge point. And I think behind the wheel, you're going to be really pleased whether you are coming from a previous generation Sienna, a rival van, or something else entirely. I think when you get behind the wheel, you're going to be impressed by how well everything implements together, as well as the huge benefits you get and the fuel economy.
Well guys, we hope you enjoyed watching this in-depth review of the 2021 Toyota Sienna XLE. We really appreciate you watching, and if you made it this far in the video, don't lie to me. I know you enjoyed watching, or at least found this video helpful, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It really helps us out a lot, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.